What is up, people of the internet? It is Dave, it is Duncan. We are still going in 2025 and we are back for another album review.
End. It's what I'm saying to this year. Fucking end.
It never ends. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Oslo's loudest troublemakers, Suncraft. The band's new album, Welcome to the Coven, will be released on November 21st via All Good Clean Records. Suncraft is an underground rock band from Oslo, Norway. Their sonic identity has got one foot firmly planted in stoner rock, while the other foot is mindlessly kicking down the many doors of various rock subgenres. After their 2021 debut album, Flat Earth Rider, Suncraft is back with their sophomore outing, Welcome to the Coven. This time around, the band are serving a fast-paced genre party of an album, bursting at the seams with heaviness and playful creativity. While previous album Flat Earth Rider followed their exploration of conspiracy theories and spirituality, Welcome to the Coven takes aim at the chaos of modern life, oligarchs, endless noise, and cult-like devotion in all its forms. The band's influences are combined into a unique blend of high energy and fuzzed-out riffery, with production by the eminent Norwegian rock producer Ruben Willem, who has worked with Kvelertak and The Good, the Bad, and The Zugly. So although we, as in me and you, have never reviewed a Suncraft album before, it is not the first time they have been featured on Metal Epidemic. Their previous album, Flat Earth Rider, was reviewed on the website and got a very positive write-up. And I was thinking, Duncan, words are cool, but they've never had the full Dave and Duncan treatment,
I also love the fact that someone put their heart and soul into that first review and was like, they probably wrote at the end of it like that, all eyes will be on the follow-up, but you just yoinked it right out of their hands as if it was nothing.
It's not the double D, you know what I mean? It's not
this is true.
The double penetration of auditory delight, Duncan, you know what I mean?
Don't know where this review's
Those
going
guys,
this early.
A couple of sextroverts, just talking about good music.
Yes. Yeah, everything you just said.
Let me start with their previous album, Flat Earth Rider. I had a good time with that album. I remember when it came in for the site, I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. But I knew there was a couple of guys in the site that were writing their stoner rock stuff, so I was like, you know what? That's for them. We'll field that out, and they will do their thing with that. And that was fine. That was cool. And I think with that one, there was no real surprises on it. It was 35 minutes, stoner-inspired rock and roll. And that was it. Plenty of fuzzed-out riffs, plenty of grooves. A little bit of melody to hook you in. Fine. But when Welcome to the Coven came in, this album, it's a little bit of a different beast, Duncan. And that's when I thought, you know what? There's things to be said here. And I did notice between the last album and this one, the band have picked up a third guitarist. That's
Jesus
right.
Christ, that's a decent amount of guitarists.
That is Duncan. 3 guitars. So welcome to the band, Mr. Jens Henrik Gverndal. And I don't know if that additional songwriter has maybe changed the dynamic of things, or if they were always heading this way. But this album is different. It's re-energized. This is new ideas. And almost like the band are now kind of thinking, okay, we need to take a bit more risk with our music kind of going forward. And when I was listening to this album, most times when I hear an album the first time, if I'm reviewing something, I stick an album on, I usually just don't overthink it. I just let it play out. I don't take any notes or anything like that. I'm just let's just play it and let's see how it goes. On my first listen to Welcome to the Coven, it did not go that way. I was kind of making mental notes on my very first listen to this album of things that I felt like I really needed to mention on this review. And then those mental notes then became actual physical notes because it seemed like every track on this album had something worth like talking about. And Suncraft have kind of made this like a far more unique listen, firstly, than Flat Earth Rider, where it does feel like each track on this album kind of presents this like newfound kind of creativity that they have on this release, and that comes in like various like stylistic changes throughout the album, adding in new genres that they have never attempted before on the previous album. We've still got Stoner Rock on there. That's still, like a kind of foundation. But there's also like moments of kind of traditional heavy metal. You've got bits of like garage rock, that kind of like Scandirock, bits of almost like kind of pop punk in there as well, but like touch of grunge, a little bit of the black metal, and even some like kind of like thrashier kind of tropes as well, especially on that first track, Rage Bait, which is a perfectly titled opening track. And like when I was listening to this, I was like, okay, so all these new changes, all these things they're doing, these new styles they're adding, for some reason it makes them sound even more, not even more, it makes them sound more Scandinavian than the previous album. Like when I heard that previous album, like without knowing anything about the band, I would have said like, oh, this band are like maybe American, something like that. Because it is like a kind of typical kind of stoner rock album. But when you hear like stuff like track 2, when it kicks in, Love's Underrated, it's got that full like Scandi rock vibe is like in full effect. The harmonies, the kind of punkier guitar, the chord choices, kind of like reminiscent of bands like Loot or like Turbo Negro, which are both Norwegian bands. But what I really liked about this was there's a kind of conscious decision to not just like kind of repeat the same thing over and over again. And I feel like that was probably my main criticism of the previous album. It did get a little bit repetitive at times. But here, the tone, the speed, the rhythm is always changing from track to track. So that feeling that I got on the previous album of it becoming a bit kind of like cyclical, it never really happens on this album. And sure, there's still like certain characteristics that will run throughout the album, but that's kind of the stuff that holds it together and makes it feel and sound cohesive. The other elements and the new ideas are the stuff that keeps it really interesting going through it. Tracks like Welcome to the Coven, the title track, has this like kind of like Beastie Boys sabotage type intro before like it kind of erupts into a kind of stoner punk type banger, complete with rock and roll kind of piano on it, or Charlatan Killer, which gets a kind of touch sludgier in the guitars, but still has that kind of garage punk tempo and ethos. Or even when they get in that last third of the album where the songs start to grow a little bit in length and, you hear them start to get a bit more creative. High on Silence throws in some more kind of 90s influences with some kind of alternative leanings, but with the lead work that's more intricate. There's some blast beats in there, and some nice kind of vocal layering that really kind of complements the arc of the song. So I've spoke a little bit about the musical changes on this album, but vocally, I also feel like this has went up another level for this band to what they've done previously. The harmonies and the vocal arrangements, the different textures and tones on this release, it's so much more varied on this album. I feel like the hooks are definitely stronger on this one. The choruses for me were much more pop to the choruses. I feel like they've got more levels, on this album. Like a track like Greed Battalion, for example, like has like kind of pop punk hooks, but then it goes right to like a kind of black metal scream at one point as well. So lots of different ideas and kind of different tones and textures coming through vocally, which was really interesting. So yeah, as I listened to this, I was kind of like, right, this is more my speed. I was kind of like fully in on this album. The only kind of one small kind of moment of doubt that I had on the album was the final track of the release, actually. Probably, if I'm totally honest, it was my least favorite track of the album. And like, it wasn't necessarily because it was a bad track. It's got like a kind of cool, kind of up-tempo stoner desert rock and roll kind of vibe. A little bit of Queens of the Stone Age in places.
100% go with the flow.
Right. Okay, I'll take your word for that.
If you know go with the flow, you just pretending you don't.
Okay.
But it's 100% go with the flow.
Right. I don't know. I wasn't 100% sold on it as a closing track. I think, like, looking back at the album, I feel like there are stronger tracks on the album that I feel like, and that closing track they picked might have worked better earlier in the album for me rather than a finisher, because it felt like a slight drop at the end, if I'm completely honest. But it was the only real thing that I was like, not totally sure about that. It kind of finished on a kind of lower point instead of like kind of finishing on something kind of big or epic, or even like just, you know, going a little bit different again on the final track. But that aside, this is a hell of a fun release. I feel like the guys have definitely upped the ante on album 2. Whatever decisions were made before writing this album, I feel like I would say to them, keep going with that, because this is great. That I love the variation and the switch ups they've put in. Same with the production by Ruben. He's used to recording bands that, you know, have a bit of kind of punky edge, but he's made sure this album has that kind of like bite to it, but is also nice and full and well-rounded sound as well. So the layers are great on this in the production. I really enjoyed that as well. So like, as someone who thought the first album was good, decent, I feel like this one is definitely a kind of step up for me. I really enjoyed this one. I thought this was really good. How about yourself? What do you think of Suncraft?
So I didn't come in with the context you had, and I kind of had a vision of what I thought this was going to sound like from the cover. Yeah. I was getting kind of witchcraft feels. I mean, notwithstanding the fact that Coven is in the title of the album, I was just getting that kind of, right, could guess it was probably Scandinavian. Thought it's going to be kind of stonery, doomy, quick rage bait. Was slightly heavier than I thought it was going to be, if I'm honest. But by the end of rage bait, I was like that, right, I know what this is. This is a known quantity. I can listen to this shit all day. You know, this is going to be cool. Swing it in. And then track 2, Love's Underrated, kicked in. And as soon as that guitar riff kicked in, I was like, what the fuck, right? Where are we going? Right, because it was completely different, much more playful. You mentioned it before, kind of Scandi meets pop punky, very hooky, kind of 70s rock flung in there as well. It's put me on the back foot. But what I realised, like, very, very quickly is these guys have hooks for days. Like, that track is just full of memorable moments, both vocally and riff leading. And then it just continued to switch up in the best possible way. Greed Battalion is like a really interesting song because it's, you know, almost 5 minutes long, and the actual chorus, Greed Battalion, doesn't really come in until the mid-mark of the track. It kind of plays footsie with you, making you think that it's going to drop the chorus, but it doesn't actually until much later on. The title track, once again, a welcome surprise. It's not as maybe sinister as a track like Welcome to the Coven might sound. Tracks like Wizards of the Angry Magic are suitably weird. You know, it fits that. Like you mentioned before, Charlotte and Killer has got a ton of really cool presence late on in the album. You know what I mean? It's coming like two or three songs from the end. Forgotten Goddess, I don't mind it as a closing track. I also think, though, what the issue that they have here is maybe how I would knock them down a little bit, is that whilst it's very clear that the band have a million influences and the tracks are really cool side by side, there isn't a huge amount of cohesion through it. You're saying there's better songs. I don't know if any of these other songs, moving that to the end, would successfully supplant that. That's a cool song that they've closed on, but I don't know if any of them would feel like a satisfying closing song on an album like this, because the tracks are very different. That's their strength, though. I think there's a lot, but like specifically this part of the world, there is innumerable bands that are doing similar stuff in one facet or another to what Suncraft are doing. I think where they stand out is they just seem to be very good at a lot of styles and actually really good at merging them in. The thing this band have, maybe it's because I've got 3 guitarists, riffs Like the unbelievable amount of incredible riffs on this. Just really, really just like riffs that go for a walk, like just go really up those fretboards. Like huge amount of like kind of 70s influence in the playing, which once again is indicative of that kind of Scandirock thing. Is kind of always think leather tasseled jackets for some reason. You know what I mean? Is that what I just instantly? That's what I think of whenever I think of Scandirock stuff, and it's all over this. Yeah. I mean, it's there, and they do very much wear their influences. You mentioned the vocals as well. Tons of different genres touched upon there, like incredible kind of pop punky, rocky, commercial sounding voice. The kind of smoky, rougher tone that he's got is great. The kind of blackened scream, really cool as well. So like they once again they're bringing a lot to it. I think the production suits it really well as well. It has a kind of older vibe, but like clearly a modern production. And it flies in. It's about 40 minutes. It's 8 songs. They don't really shortchange you on any song here. Everyone gets a chance to flourish. Like you, I'm kind of left at the end going, like, it's a great collection of songs. Do I think it's the most cohesive album? Probably not. Would I pay money to go and see this band live? Absolutely. I think they would be fucking killer live. Yeah. So for me, I think a little lack in cohesion, but what is missing in cohesion is made up for just great songwriting. I think they are like really, really, really clever songwriters. And I will tell you this album, you will smile from start to finish. This album is like, you can just tell they're high-fiving and having the best time recording it, and it comes through. And the listen is just so full of energy, so full of personality, and just a good fucking time, man. So I enjoyed this one.
Nice. Okay, final thing, scores. This is an easy 4 out of 5 for me. Like, it was just fun, like really well written, catchy, but also like kept you on your toes as well. Like, as you said, like there was tracks came in, you were like, oh right, okay, that's a really interesting switch, but it really works. Like all these different styles are merging together. I feel like it just makes them a far more interesting band. Yeah, they've got influences for sure. Like that's going to happen with any band, but I do feel like with the songwriting skills they've got, I think that the potential is there to do something like even bigger than this. So I'm looking forward to hearing like whatever they do next, and hopefully they come over to the UK, Scotland, if possible, and we could catch them live. But yeah, for me, this is an easy 4 out of 5. For yourself?
Right in their way, man. Nice. It's a 4 for me. Tons of potential. I think what you're saying is right. I think that the direction they're going sounds like a good one, because I think these sound, whilst reminding me of a lot of bands from that part of the world, they do have their own personality, and that personality comes out of how playful they write their songs. So more of that, please. Yeah, for sure. Suncraft, Welcome to the Coven, out on November 21st on all good, clean records. Check out the links to the band, the pre-order, have a listen, see what you think. I'm happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. That is a review. Thanks for checking out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon. Bye, everyone. I'll say it.